take a little money.
Well, see, my only
their
point
rental
is
to
that
the,
I'm hesitant. The school board's an elected board too, so I mean, I hate to
remember this guy? That ring your bell?
yeah, that's fine.
Escape.
Good evening, everyone. I'm calling this City Council meeting to order. May I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Elliott?
Here.
Councilmember Rogie?
Here.
Councilmember Fitzhenry?
Here.
Councilmember Sandal?
Here.
Mayor Gotel?
Here. Is there anyone for the open forum? I'd like to ask everyone to please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. This time I'd ask the City Council to approve the minutes of the regular City Council meeting of August 13th, 2012, the special City Council meeting of August 17th, 2012, the special City Council HRA Planning Commission work session of August 20th, 2012.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are going to have a quick presentation and an update. I think some of the citizens will be really interested in hearing this about the Emerald Ash Borer, and I believe that we have staff here to make that presentation for us.
Mayor, members of the council, I'm just going to introduce Jay Morrison. He's our natural resources coordinator and has been working with emerald ash borer and tree diseases for some time now, and he's going to fill us in on where we're at now with the new discovery about the emerald ash borer close to here.
Get it pulled up here. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. It's always good to see you all. Thank you for allowing me to give you this presentation on the emerald ash borer update. It'll be a brief update. So thank you for letting me be here. For viewers that are new to the area or may not have heard about emerald ash borer, I'll give you a little bit of background. Emerald ash borer is an invasive bug from Asia, and it was first discovered in the United States in 2002 in the Detroit, Michigan area. In subsequent years, it did spread to other states. In 2009, it was discovered in Minnesota, and then oh, thanks, Mike. And in 2009, it was discovered in the 94 and 280 district, just north of here, not too far. And then earlier this summer, 2012, it was discovered at Fort Snelling Golf Course, which is 2 miles from our most eastern border. In the picture in the lower left, you see a tree that has been treated with chemical and a tree that has not been treated with chemical. Both of those are ash trees. The tree on the left is clearly dead from emerald ash borer. The picture on the right is the destruction that the larva does underneath the bark, causing 100% mortality rate in ash trees. So what's Richfield doing about emerald ash borer? We do have a comprehensive program in place. We are chemically treating boulevard trees. We have 3 treatment zones, and I'll show you that map on the next slide. We are doing selective removals of ash trees. We are doing replacement trees for the trees that we remove. We're also encouraging people that don't have a boulevard tree to contact us, and we would like to put in a boulevard tree for them. The method that we use for chemical injection of ash trees is called the trunk injection method. That is we physically drill a hole into the tree and put in a one-way valve. We insert a needle into the valve and then put chemical through the valve, through the needle that's in the valve. And the reason that we do that, or one of the reasons we do that, is Richfield is in a wellhead protection area, so we can't do a soil drench or a root soaking or a basal spray on the tree. We need to account for all the chemical that we're using, and that's accomplished through the trunk injection method. Privately owned ash trees, we do get several hundred calls. We have had several hundred calls about privately owned ash trees, and we do inspect each one. And we are recommending that people have their privately owned ash trees treated if it's a high-valued tree to them. The cost of private tree treatment is in the $12 to $15 per diameter inch range, and that's a ballpark range for private tree treatment. The cost for boulevard tree treatment is approved franchise fee fund, and that's $50,000 per year. And here's the injections, the treatment areas or the treatment zones. The blue zone is 2010. That was our first year. We got a late start. We had some equipment troubles, and then 2011 we kind of figured things out a little bit better, and we accomplished a little bit more. And then I should also mention 2012 we had a late start because we were plowing snow into April that year. And then 2012, of course, we had an early spring, and we got a good start on it, and we were able to finish treating this year by the end of July. So, and then years to come, we hope to equalize this or balance this out, and so it's not so narrow and bigger as we go, and we hope it to be equal. And here's a few photos for you to look at. Top left is a tree being treated with the chemical. Middle top picture are the states that are positively infected with emerald ash borer. Top right is our staging area, or our little nursery as we're planting trees in the spring. The lower left is another tree being treated with chemical, and then the top left of that photo you see a circle. That's that one-way valve that we insert, and then the needle is inside of that valve. The photo on the bottom middle is a map of the quarantine areas in Minnesota. It's Hennepin, Ramsey County, Winona, and Houston County in the lower southeast corner. And then the tree on the lower right is a ash tree infected with EAB in St. Paul. And at this time, I say thank you, and if you have any questions, certainly can try to answer them.
I know that my tree, it has the little tag on it, and my boulevard tree.
Super.
And I'm glad to have it because it's really looking good, and I'd hate to lose that tree. It's beautiful.
Super.
So I think, some cities are cutting all their ash trees down.
Right.
I think this was a wiser decision.
Right. And I should mention, this is positive feedback. We are an example of many cities that are inquiring about treating their boulevard trees. We are one of the examples that they look to for that program. So.
Well, I guess soon enough we'll know when they come in, right? We'll
Right.
probably see them sometime next
Right.
year if they're
Right,
already there. If not, have we seen any at all here?
No, not here.
Let's see.
Haven't.
Okay.
We're looking every day, and we
Yep.
haven't discovered it, which is good.
Thanks. This is great to save our trees.
Would you repeat again for a homeowner that wants to treat their tree? I think you said $12 to $15 per 1 inch of diameter.
Per diameter inch, yes.
Per diameter
that's
inch.
going rate of the same method and chemical that we use. There are different chemicals and different methods, but the going rate of the same style we use is 12 to 15 per diameter inch.
And do we have an idea how often this has to be done? Or do we start a cycle again for next year?
That's correct. We're doing a 3-year rotation, the 3 different zones. We're treating the first zone the first year, second, and so on. So we'll be back in the first zone next year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Councilmember?
So when you do the zones, are we getting all the trees in that zone done, or just some of them as experimental?
No, every tree is evaluated by the technicians that do the injections, and they give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down if it gets treated or not. If it doesn't get treated, it doesn't necessarily mean we cut it down. It just means that it had enough dieback, or it was leaning, or the quality was that it shouldn't be treated.
Okay.
So it eventually could be cut down, but maybe not yet.
Right.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you, that was great, and I
Thank you.
appreciate the update.
If I could just make one comment. There was a question during the budget presentation about the cost, and I just wanted to return to that. The $50,000 figure was just for the chemical, and that treats about 1,000 trees. It gives you an idea. So for about $50 a tree of our out-of-pocket costs. Of course, there's staff time that goes into making sure that this gets done, and some equipment that we have purchased. But so about $50 a tree is a nice round number for you to use.
It's good to know. Okay, we'll move on to council discussion. Hats off to Hometown Hits. Councilmember Elliott.
Oh, thank you, Your Honor. I just want to remind the citizens that this coming Sunday, September 16th, the expanded Penn Fest celebration will include a closed street. Penn Avenue will be closed from 67th to 75th, and there are a number of activities going on, including a large contingent from the farmers market, a lot of music being played, and I would urge everybody from Richfield to walk the boulevard, enjoy it, and enjoy your neighbors and the activities and everything else that'll be taking place on September 16th from noon to 5 o'clock. So, thank you.
It's supposed to be a lot for family and children and
Yeah,
friends.
there's something for everybody.
Yeah, lots to do.
I have nothing tonight.
Oh.
I will elaborate on the Penn Fest because I am organizing the activities at the south end at 75th and Penn Avenue. I have now invested in at least 15 hula hoops, so you can come and try them out, different sizes for different people. We also have games going on from St. Richard's and Blessed Trinity. I know just north of us on the grassy area in front of District 287, there's going to be soccer games going on all day, or soccer demonstrations. Down in front of St. Nicholas Church, there's going to be the crafters and music. So, I mean, everywhere up and down the street, there will be fun things to do.
The Richfield Foundation will be sponsoring hopscotch and some other small crafts for children.
Mm-hmm.
As well.
And opening it up at noon, as I understand it, there's going to be a 5K sponsored by the STEM school, and the runners are going to start at Donaldson Park, which is east of Penn Avenue. They're going to come over to Penn and go north on Penn, all the way up to the water tower, which they're going to circle and come back down and back to Donaldson. So that's their 5K to open up the event. So that should be really fun to watch.
Great. That's great. Councilmember?
And I can add to that, too. I've been asked to escort them with a motorcycle, so I get to win the race again this year. But
All right.
and there's also, at Fraser, there's going to be a parade at around 1 o'clock. That's going to go from Fraser School to 66th Street.
I hear the root beer floats are still into it, Lunds. That's a real draw. Yeah. Are you going to be scooping again?
I think the ambassadors are in charge this year.
Oh, okay. I'm bringing the grandkids down for that.
I got one other item I'd like to mention. We had our Beyond Yellow Ribbon meeting last night, and a couple things we're going to do this year. We're going to, on actual Veterans Day, we're going to have a event 3:30 at the Veterans Memorial.
Oh.
And so we're going to be sponsoring that. And also we'll be doing what they call Wreaths Across America. We'll be talking a little more about that, where we take sponsorship for wreaths and we actually lay them out at Fort Snelling in about December 15th or whatever. So that's something that we're excited to do. So.
Excellent. Wonderful.
Just a quick comment. I don't know if people caught it in today's paper, the story about the memorial for 9/11 that was in the community. Was it Winona? I can't remember.
Marshall.
And it just really brought to mind our Veterans Memorial, and I think ours will have the same impact on people. I think when it's totally done, it's really shaping up now, and I think it'll be really lovely when it's finally finished.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. You can walk by and see it right now. You can see a lot being done. I'd ask council approval of the agenda.
So move.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved, and we have the consent calendar. City Manager?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. For those in the audience, both here and at home, the consent calendar contains several separate items which are acted upon by the City Council in one motion. Once the consent calendar has been approved, the individual items and the recommended actions will also have been approved, and no further council action on those items will be necessary. Tonight we have several items on the consent calendar, starting out with item A, which is consideration of approval of rejecting all bids submitted for the 6444 Lindell Avenue Municipal Liquor Store upgrade. Item B is consideration of approval of first reading of an ordinance authorizing capital improvements to upgrade the municipal liquor store at 6444 Lindell Avenue pursuant to the Richfield City Charter, Section 8.04, and setting a public hearing and second reading for October 9th, 2012. Item C is consideration of approval of a resolution declaring costs to be assessed and ordering preparation of proposed assessment roll for unpaid false alarm user fees against private property and setting the public hearing for October 9th, 2012. Item D is consideration of approval of a resolution declaring costs to be assessed and ordering preparation of proposed assessment roll for weed elimination from private property and removal or elimination of a public health or safety hazard from private property and setting the public hearing for October 9th, 2012. Item E is consideration of approval of accepting bid minutes, tabulation, and award of contract to NAC Mechanical and Electrical Services for emissions reduction improvements for the water system generators in an amount of $158,027 and authorizing staff to approve construction contract changes for up to $15,000. Item F is consideration of approval of a resolution authorizing the acceptance of Statewide Health Improvement Program, or SHIP, reimbursement grant in the amount of $3,333 for the purchase of video traffic count system. Item G is consideration of approval of a contract change order number 1 to Mankey Brothers Outdoors to install irrigation for the final phase of Honoring All Veterans Memorial in an amount of $23,997. Item H is consideration of approval of a temporary expansion of licensed premises for Lariat Lanes at 6320 Penn Avenue to allow outside service of strong beer on September 16th, 2012, in conjunction with Richfield Open Streets at Pennfest. Item I is consideration of approval of award of contract to Semple Building Movers Incorporated for the sale and removal of a house at 6420 17th Avenue. And finally, item J, consideration of approval of temporary on-sale intoxicating liquor license for the Church of the Assumption at 305 East 77th Street for Festember event on September 22nd, 2012. And that concludes tonight's consent calendar.
I'll move the consent calendar.
Second.
Any discussion, comments? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. The first item we have for us is item 6. This is a public hearing and second reading of an ordinance to authorize a capital improvement to renovate Fire Station Number 2. At present, the Fire Station 2 is in need of some major renovation. I don't know if anybody's ever toured that, but I have several times. Council initially discussed the issue at a work session on June 26, 2012, and the first reading of the ordinance was held on August 13, 2012, and the renovation would provide the following: alleviate some gender equity issues. The current fire station was originally built in 1963 and remodeled in 1983. It would allow the installation of energy-efficient updates. Over the past years, several city has made several improvements in Station 2, but the energy efficiency of the boiler was installed along with some new water heaters. These improvements will not replace those during the renovation. Replacement of equipment that is beyond its effective operation life cycle. To accommodate equipment storage needs, the current facility has inadequate storage space for departmental needs. To facilitate operational needs due to increased station run volume. Run volume of Station 2 has increased 14% over the past 10 years. And currently, the fitness equipment at Station 2 is co-located with the dormitory firefighting in a strenuous job and requires a high level of individual fitness. Currently, fitness equipment is co-located in the dormitory. The renovation will create new space that will be dedicated for fitness. The new front entrance and facade will be part of the project. The architect has been tasked with adhering to all the development guidelines established by the city for the Penn Avenue corridor. And I also asked for some more clarification because I'd had several citizens looking at this since this item has come up before and asking, well, why do we have a Station 2? And why didn't we put Station 2 in with the station here? And so I wanted to get those very specific questions. I asked those, and I thought it would be good that the public hear those responses. And thank you, Chief, for being here.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, City Council. Why do we have 2 fire stations? Well, fire station location and number of fire stations for a community rely on a number of issues. Urban density of population, target hazards, run volume, and things like that. But in Richfield, probably the biggest reason is geography. If you take a look at the map of Richfield, the city is divided into 4 quadrants for fire and EMS response. Everything east of Lindale is Station 1. Everything west of Lindale is Station 2. Those are the first due rigs for those locations. Additionally, it's divided down 70th, so we have 4 quadrants, and those are used for alarm assignments when we bring in mutual aid units. As we're all aware, there's really only 3 ways to get from the east side to the west side, or the west side to from the east side to the west side. You've got 66th Street, 77th, 76th Street, and 494. As you can see, the stars represent Fire Station 1 and Fire Station 2. So Fire Station 1, Fire Station 2. The yellow line shows the travel from Fire Station 1 down 66th Street, and then down Portland and across 77th, 76th Street into the west side. We had this question asked of us in about 2010, and we did some quick data on it, and we said, what is the center of District 2? And the GIS folks at Logis said it's 70th and Logan. And we said, well, what are the drive times to get to that location? And now drive time is just the time from you get into the rig and on the road. It doesn't count turnout time, dispatch time, and all those additional times. So it's about 1 minute 45 seconds from Station 2 to that location, and 3 minutes and 45 seconds from Station 1 to that location. So that 2 minutes doesn't seem like a lot, but if your house is on fire or if you're having a cardiac arrest, that's an eternity. And that's why response time is so critical. In a cardiac arrest, time is of the essence. They talk about time is muscle. Well, if the longer we wait before we get bystander CPR going, professional CPR going, advanced airways and other adjuncts and other treatments in place, the longer it takes, the lower our survivability. And fortunately, we have a very high survival rate of cardiac arrest in the county. So that's a key thing. We want to get professional CPR done on these individuals. Studies have shown that the more CPR people do, the better they are at it, and the survival rates increase. So one of the things we do is we have CPR Mondays. And additionally, fire. I'm going to show you a quick little video. I'm going to a couple minutes here. Today's world, fire in the old days. Okay, here we go. On the left here we have a legacy room, and this is furnishings from about 1950. So the stuffing is cotton, there's natural fabrics, natural coverings, there's not a lot of plastic. Over here on the right is a room that's got stuff you find in modern day, any typical house. Plastics, chipboard, laminate, things of that nature. Underwriter's Laboratory wanted to see how fast we get to, how fast fire spreads in these 2 different units. So you'll see on the left at a minute 52, the fire's just really starting to get going over here. It's really going over here. If we go just a little bit farther, you'll see at 2 minutes and 43 seconds, we've got heavy smoke. We've got probably 1,000 degrees at the ceiling. And at about 3 minutes and 29 seconds, the room flashes over. This is what is in everyone's house today. This is what we had back in 1950. So as you can see, it's really important to get to the scene. To just finish it up, the legacy room takes almost a half hour to flash over versus the modern day room of 3 minutes and 40 seconds. Mm-hmm. Time is key, and that's really why we have Station 2.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, thanks. I think that gives a lot of education to a lot of people and talks about what you folks really do for us and why you're over on the other side of town. That's my neighborhood, so I'm kind of glad
Okay.
you're there anyway. So,
Okay, well, we're happy to be there.
we're
So.
good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Any questions? Okay, this is a public hearing, so I'm going to open up the public hearing. Would anyone like to come forward to speak on the issue? Anyone else? Okay, good.
I'll move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The public hearing is closed. So at this time, we've conducted the public hearing, the second reading of the ordinance to authorize expenditures for the planning and renovation of Fire Station 2 pursuant to the Richfield Charter, Section 8.04. I will make the motion.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor
Just
signify by aye.
one comment,
Oh.
and that is that I am still supportive of, I don't know where the chief has left it or what his investigation has shown, of considering Fire Station 2 also being the Penn Central Station.
I concur.
Yeah.
We're preparing a council memo for council, updating you on
Good.
what we found out.
Thank
You
you.
should see that in the next week or two.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Councilmember Fitzhenry. Okay, thank you. All right.
Hopefully, or if you could see, how do I make sure it's aimed at it? Okay, item under consideration is the second reading and consideration of an adoption of an ordinance amending section 601.25 of the Richfield City Code relating to placement of waste containers. In recent environmental health enforcement action, a property owner contended that the city's ordinance regarding placement of waste containers included ambiguous language. The city code states that garbage cans, refuse, and recyclables containers must be located alongside or behind the house of a garage of a residential dwelling unit. The resident had placed their garbage can forward of the front line of the house and was cited for failing to have it either alongside or behind the home. The city has been enforcing this code this way for over 30 years. The citizen challenged the citation in district court, and a hearing officer dismissed the citation, stating that our ordinance language was not supported by a definition of the term alongside. This effectively rendered our current waste container placement ordinance language moot. Staff contacted the city attorney, and the city attorney recommended that the ordinance be amended to clarify the city's intent. The City Council considered the first reading of the proposed ordinance on August 13, 2012. At that time, Councilmember Fitzhenry and myself suggested that the ordinance was difficult to understand. In response to those concerns, staff has simplified the language but has not altered the substance and the proposed change. The last sentence of the proposed ordinance previously said containers may not be stored in an area that lies between the front line and the front line of the principal building that is the furthest from the front lot line, as projected to the side lot lines. This has been revised to read, containers may not be stored in front of any part of the principal building on the property. So if you look at the nice drawing we did, it tells you everywhere where it's allowed, and it made it a lot more clear to me, and I'm hopefully to all the residents, if they look at this, that in the hash marked area, it is prohibited. So if you look at the illustration there, you'll see that it's allowed along the sides and the back of your main dwelling and along all sides of your garage. So by motion, I'd like to approve the adoption of ordinance relating to the storage of garbage, refuse, and recyclable containers, amending subsection 601.25 of the Richfield City Code.
Second. May I ask too if we can put that graphic up online so people can see it, have a quicker link to it, because we are just changing this, so people at least can see that right online. Make sure we can get a link to that. Councilmember.
I have a question. Is refuse the lawn clippings and all that stuff, or are we talking about something else? Or what I'm concerned about is that most, I don't know if most is even the correct word, but many of the residents have 3 garbage cans now. They have one for recyclables, one for garbage, and one for lawn clippings. And other than the color of the top of the card, it's indistinguishable what it is. I'm wondering if that's being left out intentionally, or if it's been omitted. Because if it's been omitted, I'd like to amend that tonight, so we get this done right the first time. But that
Or is that,
container or whatever it is should be also behind the front line of the house.
or is that implied?
I'm going to, my belief is that we were intending to include any container.
That was
And
my thought.
I'm going to let the city attorney respond to that. I do want to make one comment. As people are looking at this drawing, the one thing that I want to make clear, and maybe I'm going to just step up to the podium, because I don't think we
Please.
could explain this enough times for everybody to make sure everyone understands.
After a corner lot like you.
Yeah.
Well, I don't work from here very often, so I'm probably going to be a little awkward, but, in this drawing, I want to make sure people understand. Okay, so this is the street in front of your house, your front yard, the front of your house. What people have done in the past is they have, for example, let's say that this is their garage area here, and this was the front of their house. They would put their garbage can alongside the front of their garage, and it was behind the very front line of their house. That will not be allowed. So I don't want people to think that if part of your house sticks out further, or maybe it's the other way around, maybe somehow you got your garage sticking out further to the front, you put it alongside your garage and in the front of your house, that will not be allowed, and we'll enforce that. So it's got to be behind the front line of the building, irrespective of what juts out further. That, that's very critical.
And corner lots?
And corner lots, I'm going to defer to the city attorney as to how that might be handled.
I'm sorry, I was looking up the code definition of refuse, so I
Okay.
missed the
The question, Ms. Heine, was with respect to corner lots.
So you have roads on 2 sides.
Right. How does this drawing looks at what is allowable for a mid-lot kind of block? What's allowable?
It's not any different for a corner lot would still be able to store on the side, because that's still a side yard area.
Okay.
Even though it's on a corner, you only have one front yard, and then the other one that's along a street is a side yard, and you could put your containers along that side of the building.
Right. So again, to make it clear, if this was a corner lot and you got the street in front of your house and that running alongside, you can put the garbage can, refuse can, grass clipping can, whatever it is, along the side. It will be visible from this particular street, but it wouldn't be visible to the front of the building.
Councilmember Sandal?
If you're looking at just the house, that's essentially my house, and my driveway is off to the left, directly down towards 76th Street. So there is, and the only place you could put the cans along that side of my house would be in front of the garage doors, which doesn't work very well. I can put it behind the house, but I'm going to have to put a cement pad in to do that. So I guess one of the things I would request is that we pass the ordinance, but then allow people some time to either build an enclosure if they don't meet the ordinance. And I don't want to build an enclosure, I want to put a cement pad in that I can put it literally behind the house.
You
So it wouldn't
can
be
in your
visible.
yard, because you're putting it, in effect, your yard is more to the right. I mean, your house is more to the right of your yard, so you're putting it, I'm not up there, but you know what I'm saying? You're putting yours out here, Sue? And this is 76th Street, so as long as you're in your backyard past your garage, you're legal.
But I'm not adjacent to the building. That's
You don't have to be.
Yeah, you do. That's what it says, adjacent to a building. At the bottom of that map,
What does the term adjacent mean?
next to it.
How close?
Well, how close?
It means next to it.
Okay.
So,
All right, I see what you mean on your house.
yeah, so, and I'm probably not the only one who's on a corner lot that has that problem. so,
Probably not. Yeah, you're right.
So I guess I would request a 9-month grace period for those who have to build a structure or put a pad in or whatever.
I would go for something that starts in the spring. I don't want to go through a whole summer.
No, I don't. But
I
I'm
would-
just counting now. It's
I would
September,
say
October,
rather
November,
than how
December,
many
January,
months,
February,
I'd
March,
say, May
April.
1st.
Well, you got to get concrete in. If you're going to get concrete
I'd say
in,
through June
might
or
be
May,
nice.
I don't know, whatever.
Something like that.
To be able
June
to
might be
What's the
good.
time
How
frame?
about-
Do we have to publish this for some period of time? What's the time frame there?
Well, you publish it and it becomes effective 30 days after publication. But
Seymour
I guess
getting
you
in
can,
the
you
fall.
can pick a date to say that it becomes effective. Corinne, there's no problem with that. If you want to say, and I don't know what the weather might be like as far as pouring concrete pads. Certainly you could probably do it in the fall, or you can do it in the spring. I don't know, June 1st, is that
June 1st
amenable
is
to
fine.
people, or is
Yeah,
that?
that's fine.
That way
Let's do it, 'cause
it'll
I'd
be
like to
fine
get
for
done
the
before
summer, but
summer.
they've got the month of May in case you have a
Yeah. I'm
crummy
fine with
spring.
All right,
June
I'll
1st,
move to
yeah.
make it June 1st for people with side yard issues.
Okay. And then you had a definition for us on the can?
Enforcement is June 1st
period, right?
Yeah.
For
yeah.
everybody?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
All right, I'll move it to
You amend.
June 1st, my amendment.
I'll second the amendment. But we had a discussion regarding the definition.
Right, the question had to do with whether it included, whether refuse would include yard waste containers, and no, it doesn't. This is historical language. Those terms are specifically defined. So if you do want it to include all containers, you would want it to say garbage, yard waste, refuse, and recyclables.
Okay, would you please, let's amend again? That would be the second amendment to the
I'll second that.
language?
Yeah, I agree.
A lot of good discussion here. We're catching a lot of little stuff. That's great. Okay, we have a motion and we have two amendments. I would like to do them all at once if that's okay. All in favor signify by.
I don't know, don't we
Can
have to
I-
do the amendments first?
Do I
and
have
then
to do the
motion?
amendments first? I don't believe I do.
Can you do all the amendments?
Oh, you can with a single, okay.
Yeah.
Was the ordinance
Moved and
moved
seconded.
It was moved
already?
and seconded, not,
And
okay.
then you did
amendments.
the request on the amendments.
Yep.
You'd need separate votes on each
Okay.
amendment.
All right.
Yeah, and the first one would be the First Amendment.
Okay, the First Amendment, it's been seconded. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The Second Amendment, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? For the motion, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion and the amendments pass. Thank you.
So now it's,
June
there's
1st
a
and
grace
includes-
period till June 1st.
Yes, and that gives us some time to get some education out there for some folks, too. We would really appreciate that for folks to get that out of there. This is item 8. This isn't a public hearing. This one was not a public hearing. This was just an approval of an adoption. The public hearing was before. But I'll stick around if you have some concerns. I'd be happy to talk to you. Council member?
Yeah, okay, this is a consideration of a request for a conditional use permit to allow lighted ball fields and new buildings, bleachers, and a backstop at 7001 Harriet Avenue, Richfield High School. A little background, Richfield High School has requested permission to install lights at the existing ball field adjacent to the high school. Additionally, they plan to construct new bleachers, a press box, and a concession building, and replace the existing backstop. The new bleachers will curve around the home plate and will take advantage of the grade change between the street and the playing field. The press box and concession building will sit at the top of the rise behind the bleachers. The new backstop will be of a similar design and height as redesigned city fields at Lincoln Park, and the backstop will be approximately 38 feet tall. Outdoor facilities related to schools are conditionally permitted in the residential district, provided the following conditions are met. Outdoor recreational facilities designed for group activities shall be set back at least 40 feet from any lot line. The site is currently non-conforming in regard to this requirement. The existing bleachers are set back 27 feet from the south lot line. All new and/or replacement ball field components must be at least 27 feet from the lot line. The requirement does not apply to fences. Buffering shall be provided to mitigate noise and adverse visual impacts on adjacent properties. The field is an existing facility. The proposed changes will modernize and improve its appearance. There have been no complaints related to the existing ball field. Lighted playing fields shall be permitted only upon demonstration that off-site impacts can be substantially mitigated. Light levels will not exceed 0.3-foot candles on the south side of 72nd Street. General city standards require that light levels remain below the 1.0-foot candles at either the center of an adjacent street or a residential property line. Light levels from street lights typically measure between 0.5 and 2-foot candles at street level. Now, the findings necessary to issue a conditional use permit are as follows. The proposed use is consistent with the goals, policy, and objectives of the city comprehensive plan. The property is designated for school use. The proposed use is consistent with the purposes of the zoning code and the purposes of the zoning district in which the applicant intends to locate the proposed use. The purpose of the single-family district regulation is to protect and preserve the single-family residential character of the area. The proposed use is consistent with an officially adopted redevelopment plan or urban design guidelines. This requirement does not apply as there are no other official development plans or design guidelines for this site. D, the proposed uses or will be in compliance with the performance standards specified in Section 544 of this code. The building design and lighting comply with the performance standards section of this code. E, the proposed use will not have undue adverse impacts on governmental facilities, utilities, services, or existing or proposed improvements. No adverse impacts are anticipated. F, the use will not have undue adverse impacts on the public health, safety, or welfare, and there are no adverse impacts anticipated. And G, there is a public need for such use at the proposed location. Ball fields are necessary for the high school athletic program. And H, the proposed use meets or will meet all the specified conditions set by this code for the granting of such conditional use permits. And I don't think I need to read any of the other information. What I'll do is I'll move to approve a conditional use permit to allow a lighted ball field and new accessory features at 7001 Harriet Avenue, Richfield High School.
Second.
And I know we have some folks from the school here. I guess just for some questions and clarifications too, if you wouldn't mind, some of you coming up to the podium just to speak on the issue. Some of the questions I would have or that have been brought forward is, first of all, why are we now putting lights in? And to how late will those be? You know, what kind of activities and such, and how late, you know, for the residents around there?
Madam Mayor, City Council, with me tonight is Michael Schwartz, Director of Business Services at the Public Schools, Dave Bowie, our head baseball coach, and I am Todd Olson, our athletic director. What I thought is I could answer questions given from the Planning Commission that may be some of the same questions you all had. And respond pretty much. We have 11 questions. I can give you 11 individual responses, and you can feel free to question me on some of those when we're done. First question that was asked if games would be held at night on school nights during the school year. That answer is yes. It typically will be in the month of April and May. Late April, as the temperature makes it more conducive to be able to go at night. Start times would be 6 p.m. So the end time during the school year would be around 8:30 at the latest. So that gives you a ballpark figure there. Afternoon start times would remain the same, would be 4 p.m., which is consistent with our conference, a 4 p.m. start or a 6 p.m. start. Okay. Second one was, how often would the field be used with the lights? During the spring, depending on the schedule, it may be 1 time, 2 times a week, again starting in the end of May or in the end of April and through the month of May, and then early June if we happen to have some playoff activities at the field. During the summer, use would increase, but increase only to about 2 to 3 times a week during the weekdays. There are tournaments during the summer which traditionally are daytime things, but what happens with lighted field, it allows you, when inclement weather and such comes up with delays, you can maintain the field as opposed to extending the tournament into extra days. You just kind of ride out the weather and move it on through. But we look at the field being used perhaps 2 to 3 times a week, and primarily will be used by the American Legion baseball team in the summer. We do have a couple of adult teams that have historically used the high school field and have indicated they would like to use the high school field again on a lit facility or also during the daytime. Question was, is it anticipated that the fields will be rented out for use at night, and how often? Summer rental would probably be our current users, and the current users would be the American Legion, but also the 5th District, which is the American Legion Conference, or the membership. Now, one of the reasons that the lights have come into play is the 5th District is made up of primarily Richfield is the only suburban entity, and then the rest of the Legion teams or sponsored teams now are inside Minneapolis, the city of Minneapolis proper. What has happened is they have a hard time finding facilities to play baseball games, and Richfield has turned into a gathering point or a site, and it's become a popular landing point where we may play 2 or 3 games on an evening, starting at 3 o'clock and then playing until, finishing up at 10, where you could get 6 teams in there for 3 games, all 5th District teams, and it becomes a site and a location there. We're able to handle that because, remember, we have off hours when we're using the baseball field, even during the school year, where the school parking lot is available and walk over. Currently, fans walk over from the central parking lot or the transportation parking spaces just adjacent to the ballpark to the west. Okay. We also make the park available, or the field becomes available, to facilitate our Babe Ruth programs in town, our Mickey Mantle programs in town, where they have oftentimes used us as a backup facility for their tournaments that are both at Upper and Lower Donaldson. We've always been in the ready there. We've even been an active site for them. Now we would just have the ability to also offer a 6 or 8 p.m. game, which is in accordance to how Donaldson is run currently. Okay. One of the questions was put to us was, could Donaldson Field be used instead of a lighted field at the high school facility? Donaldson has really become a Holy Angels site during the spring and a Holy Angels Legion site during the summer. And so the Richfield high school baseball team doesn't really have the access that it had prior to Holy Angels using that facility, if people recollect things back in the early 80s or the late 70s. The Legion team, when Holy Angels created its own Legion identity, in probably a good neighbor act, the Richfield American Legion team said, we'll work with the high school facility because you're using the school facility at Holy Angels, you're using Donaldson as your school site during the school year, you might as well just maintain it in the summer there. And so that's one of the reasons that Donaldson hasn't been an American Legion site, even though when the 5th District hosts tournaments and such, it has come back to Donaldson at times because the Holy Angels use schedule is over and it's into tournament play. So that's when you may see some activity there late in the summer. One of the other pieces that was directed was parking. I think I addressed that. The high school parking lot is available. Most of the time it is in off hours, where if it's at night, there's plenty of space for baseball spectators. We probably will have to change a little bit of behavior, directing people into our parking lots, but we've been doing that ongoing since we've been using the high school field as a Legion site in the summer. We've always asked people to come off of 72nd there and abide by the parking signs. The next question that came to me was the facility improvements, will that result in more use of the facility and larger crowds? We think so and we hope so, because one of the things that we have, I guess I would say, neglected on the school campus and throughout the city is really true baseball seating. And if you've gone down to perhaps Bloomington and seen what's been done over at Dred Scott or down at the Herbeck Fields, they've created bleacher seating in accordance to some specifications for crowd safety and crowd traffic and crowd control. We would be doing the same thing. If you're at the current park right now, you walk in the gate and you go down about maybe a 60-degree slope. And what has happened is our senior citizens who come to the game choose to set their lawn chairs on the railroad tracks and watch the game from outside the fence. And it is not ADA accessible. Some of our veterans who come out to support the American Legion team will watch from outside the fence in their mobile equipment, or they too will sit out on the train tracks. Now we're fortunate because the train runs between 9 and 2, but that still is that's not those people are entitled to come into the game and watch the game as a normal spectator. The new project will allow us to do that. The project also will have more than adequate seating. And it will also have a receiving area when you walk in. If I said it was a plaza, but we've leveled it off so people can walk in and gather. And we, as we said, we have a concession area and a press box area that will be adjacent to as they walk in. The next piece was, in the buffer and are we moving or are we going to behave as a good neighbor? Our intent is to follow the current city guidelines and expectations in terms of event operation. We would mirror probably the same behaviors that are over at the Donaldson fields right now, whether it's the 2 baseball fields or the football soccer fields, in terms of the lights being on. And I think right now, lights over at Donaldson go off at 11. And we don't anticipate exceeding that. And actually, when we've looked at our pre-scheduling, we probably would be lights out by 10:15, as we kind of currently are. The high school campus has traditionally been dark by 10 o'clock, if you look at football and soccer game there. Okay. Let's see. Other pieces that the city has asked. Permitting and rental, we're going to continue to follow our existing use agreements and permit policies per our board directives. We visit those at an annual basis, so they are amended and changed as we see needs to be fit. But right now, we look at the field itself would be able to be operated on the same behavior and mechanics that it has for the last 50 years. It just now has the ability to offer a 6 to 10 option for scheduling that we really haven't been able to do currently. Okay. And the last question was, how would we work with our neighbors? We have worked very hard to maintain a working relationship with our neighbors. We would continue to do that. And one of the ways is we do work and communicate with them, and we do listen to concerns and questions. One of the example that I can cite is the first day of school. Well intended, we had the seniors meet at the 50-yard line of the stadium for senior sunrise, and we plugged in an iPod. And you can imagine. And I had two emails within 24 hours, wondering, number one, what was going on, and number two, 6:30. And when I responded to the neighbors with what our intent was, they understood and they accepted my apology, and we will not have the iPod plugged in for senior sunrise next school year, but we will have the boombox down at the 50-yard line. And we do work that way, and we understand that. One of the pieces this summer, the field was being used, and the stadium field was being used, and we had a concert in the park, not knowing the schedule. And Nick Thompson came over, turned it off, thanked us, and away the concert went. And so we'll continue that behavior, and as the athletic director and the manager of permits and And facilities use, I would be the lightning rod or the point person to receive that. So I hope that clears some of that up. That was pretty quick, but that seemed to be the questions that came from the Planning Commission.
It was, and I was
Yeah.
getting some of those same questions as well.
Okay.
I appreciate that you came.
Yeah.
Are there other questions or comments?
I met with our Park and Rec director today, just because I'm getting phone calls and emails and trying to do my job here. He says that at Donaldson, actually, the policy is that most games are done by 10 o'clock at night, but that at 10:45, it's lights out, and everybody has to be out of the park by 11.
Yep.
Because you said the lights go off at 11. It's just a clarification, because if you do have cars parking in the neighborhood instead of going to Central Garage, then you're going to get a lot of door slamming, cars door slamming and everything at 11 o'clock at night, which probably 10:45 to 11 isn't going to make that big a difference, but it will create phone calls, I'm sure.
Right.
Because in the past, you've never had that problem because you haven't played on that field late at night.
Right. And that's why one of the things I mentioned, we don't anticipate going past 10:15 in our current schedule. So we would even shut down earlier.
I mean, we'll set up some sort of guidelines.
Come to the
field use.
mic.
I'm sorry.
Come on over there, David.
Please,
Hi.
thank you.
I'm sorry. I'm Dave Boyd, the head baseball coach, and there quite a bit. We would certainly set up a schedule. Anyone that used it, whether it be the Legion team or somebody else, last inning doesn't start after, if it's 10 o'clock, whatever, off the field by this time, lights out by this time, and they would have those guidelines, and we would stand to those regardless of the situation. So, yeah, and we will match. Go ahead. I mean, assume we're gonna match whatever Donaldson is. I mean, if that seems to be the acceptable policy.
That's their policy. I confirmed it today, so I would
Yeah,
know.
I mean, so we'll find that and make sure that we do the same thing and hold to that too. So, thank you.
I have one question as a coach and as a coach of girls for the last 20-some years. Have you got any provisions for how you're going to deal with the parent who calls and says, when are you going to put the lights at the middle school? Because I'm hearing different things about this is because parents can't get to a baseball game by 4:15, your start times. I know as a coach, I really don't want to play any night games in April, but that's my view. You might have a different one, and I understand that. But if that's the case, that this is all about can people get to a game at 4:15, well, the parents of girls would have the same issues, wouldn't they? So I'm just wondering where Title IX is going to come into this. If you've thought about that, because we're all residents of Richfield, and if Title IX becomes an issue, I'm wondering that's going to be an expensive add-on to the field at middle school.
Let me answer this this way. If you look at Title IX right now, the two facilities, the boys' facility needs to be upgraded.
I understand the
Yep,
upgrades.
and that's the thought, and that's the workings. The second piece is the adding of the lights, or the lighted facility, came along with the fact when we had the ability to write the grant. We are currently working with the softball facility and the softball people, primarily the high school program first.
Right.
And we're in discussions right now on that very topic, because we did talk about that topic when we renovated the middle school fields 6 years ago or 7 years ago, and at that time, the softball community did not want the lighted facilities.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you dealt with it. That's all I'm asking.
At one point in time, but it's an ongoing discussion, so
Okay.
that's a good point.
Okay.
Okay?
Other questions or concerns? Councilmember?
Just a comment. I was talking with a parent in Minneapolis, and they were discussing, they have younger children, and they were discussing sports and playing baseball, and the comment of another parent was, well, if you really want to get into a good system, you go to Richfield. And I'm glad that you're making sure that that's still true and will continue to be true.
Well, thank you. That's good to hear today.
I think they were referring to the Lincoln Fields that we just built and the ones on 77th, but I think that's now going to also be true for the high school as well.
And Councilman Rogi, one of the discussion points here that maybe I missed is when we sat out and we planned this remodeling and we planned the renovation, we followed the same guidelines that we used with our pool, with the middle school softball fields, because there's a third prong in all of this. It's the community use. You've got school day use, which is curricular, and then you've got co-curricular, after school, after hours use, or traditional bells over. That's 7. And then you have this other entity And we have a shared use agreement with the city that works quite well. So we're able to, June 1st, we're able to turn over a lot of our facilities where the city has access to them when they have the need. And I think that cooperation and, it's the sense of community that we're very happy to have this proposal before you tonight.
And I'm really excited about addressing the accessibility too, because there's a lot of people I talk to, they love to go to these games. So, yeah, a lot of parents and grandparents and
Exactly.
friends. So I understand that.
Yeah.
How are you going to get them down to the lower level, or is that whole level going to change?
When you walk into the entrance now from the south side, that will all be level.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
And the seating will be backloading. But there are, as I'm speaking, there are 10 to 12 handicap areas set for wheelchair accessible people that you can just pull up along the railing and watch the game as well. Wow. It's really going to be quite a neat, intimate little experience for people.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Good. Other comments or concerns? I'm really glad you came tonight because it
Thank you.
sounds like you were getting calls as well, so was I.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. You
Appreciate that.
Take the time.
I just
out.
happened to be on vacation the first time.
Good luck with it.
Yes, good luck. And with that, we have a motion. It's been seconded. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight. Councilmember Sandahl.
Item number 9 deals with the 2012 revised and 2013 proposed budget resolutions. And we did have a study session with the City Council on September 5th. And I don't know if staff was going to present the repeat of the display. We're not going to. Okay. Because the City Council has reviewed it, and it was certainly open to the public if anyone was interested in hearing it. As a result of the City Council discussion and the staff preparation, the preliminary gross levy that's being proposed is set at $17,744,951, and that does include a levy for the general fund operations of $687,755, and then also a debt service levy of $2,047,557, and a tax abatement levy of $309,639, an equipment and technology levy of $700,000, and the 2013 preliminary gross levy represents a 4.5% increase over the 2012 gross levy. So that's what we're looking at in terms of an increase over the prior year. The City Council does establish that at a special budget meeting on or before September 15th, the city manager must submit to the council a proposed budget and a budget message, which was done. And this follows the Truth in Taxation statute. And then consequently, as required by the Truth in Taxation legislation, every taxing authority must certify its proposed property tax levy for the payable year of 2013 to the county auditor on or before September 15th. And as you now know, today is September 11th, so we have to meet that requirement. And no local units of government are exempted from the requirement, including the city. And along with the 2012 revised 2013 proposed budget and preliminary tax levy, the city staff is also recommending that we set a date for this year's Truth in Taxation public hearing. And it's recommended that that date would be December 4th at 7 o'clock, and that's a Tuesday evening. And these are public hearing meetings. At that point, the tax levy can be reduced, but it cannot be increased. And all official action concerning the preliminary tax levy and setting dates for the Truth in Taxation hearings have to be concluded by September 15th, 2012. All right. I'm going to move it, and then we can talk about it. I move that we adopt the attached resolutions establishing the 2013 preliminary property tax levy and the proposed date for the Truth in Taxation hearing, authorizing budget revisions, and authorizing revision of the 2012 budget of the various departments.
I'll second. I'm sure there's council discussion on this. Council? Tom?
No, I don't have.
We did keep,
Rogan?
I'm sorry. We did keep the money that we were talking about for the possibility of a couple other issues in here, right?
The 70,000?
Yep, 70,000.
Okay, and the two issues that were discussed at the last meeting was,
Right.
one was the,
4th of July.
that was discussed, the 76th Street
Rename?
renaming, and then the third item was the
Sections.
special,
To get a
Civil-
community service officer
community
back
service
in there
officer, right.
inspecting houses like we
Right,
were doing in the
so-
past.
right.
Okay. I know this is about a budget, but, we were kind of, I guess when I went home after that meeting, I thought maybe I didn't read a memo, but we got a memo from city staff suggesting we do not renew the carnival license, which meant, because I thought the license was up after this carnival. Have we determined it
Well,
when it is up? Because
I-
otherwise they'll be back next year.
yes, my understanding is that that unfortunately the contract does run for another year.
One more year.
Yeah.
All right, so it's next year.
Yes, I have to tell you that I was very concerned about one of the things that happened. I don't want to spend a lot of time on that, but
Right.
you brought that memo up. When the carnival was supposed to have taken all of its equipment and personnel and left our Veterans Park by a date certain, they didn't do it and didn't make any attempt to do it. So along with the issues that we were concerned about, just about some of the folks that were drawn by the carnival, I was very disturbed that the carnival operator completely ignored the city, the agreement they had with the city and requirement that they vacate the park. So, those are some of the things that went into writing that memo.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing from the 4th of July committee.
Yes.
What
So-
their thoughts are and what the value of the carnival is, because
Yes.
it's an issue.
Yeah.
I agree. We need to get further in that. We need to have some study, some communication between them and us.
Yes. If, Madam Mayor, members of the council, if I may just say one thing. We went through a very elaborate presentation of what was included in our budget and tax levy. That was filmed. It was, and it's available for review. I would encourage people to review it. It's very long, and so what I'm going to do is very soon, I will put together another piece that folks can watch. That'll be a shorter version of it that will give people a pretty good insight on our budget and tax levy, and will be either no longer than 1/2 hour. Maybe try to keep it within 20 minutes to a half hour, and that would be, people would be more inclined to want to look at it then.
Right.
I think so.
I think it was a well-produced message, though, about, how much we're invested in fire, police, and public works.
Yes.
And there's not that much around the edges. And
That's
so
exact-
I think that's the important thing to take at, if you do go watch it, is to take that as part of the example of what we have to deal with. And then, all the little issues that we don't know about ahead of time, that we don't get to deal with, like LGA and the fact that we're trying to get off it, and we're doing a good job of getting off it, and hopefully next year will be last year.
Yeah.
And I think to follow up on that, on your comment about public works and police and fire, just to remember that for people at home, that the cost of those three services are not even paid for by your taxes. Your real estate taxes don't have enough money to cover them.
Right.
So we have to have money from other sources.
Grants
Right.
and such, yeah.
Yeah.
Councilman?
And the other thing I think was important that we didn't mention tonight, that some of the TIF district, one of them came off, and actually the increase to the homeowner is not going to be significant. And I think they'd like to view, that's $175 home and less, how much it's really going to cost them or
Right.
save them.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, we definitely will produce that piece, and we'll get it all over so people can view it. And I think that first piece that Chris and I always do go through in the very beginning of the budget process, it would be very valuable for people to watch. I know that we could do that, heck, in 20 minutes.
Yeah, you don't have all of us questioning you all the time, stopping you, right? All the questions we have. Any other discussion? The motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. We have the manager's report.
I really don't have anything to report at this time.
Okay. Claims and payroll.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Seeing no further action, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you for everyone.
Did you
Oh,
want
excuse me.
to open the Don't we have a session?
I was going to go
after?
talk to him
Oh,
afterwards.
I thought we also have a session after if he wants to come up and
I
address
was
it.
going to ask him what he wanted first, I don't know.
I'm going to grab my little map back.